The New York Yankees dropped their first game of the series against the Cleveland Guardians, and things got out of hand pretty early on. The Yankees found themselves down 4-0, then 5-0, then eventually 6-0 before they started to claw back in this game, and was not the greatest outing from Clarke Schmidt in his second start of the season. 4 innings, 7 hits, 3 walks, 5 earned, 7 strikeouts. Again, a little erratic. Worked himself into and out of a bases-loaded jam. Made some nice pitches on some of his strikeouts, but he left a lot of stuff over the plate, and he was punished, particularly on those back-to-back home runs in the third inning by Jose Ramirez and Kyle Manzardo. By the way, Manzardo's as hot as can be right now. And it really just kind of got away from the Yankees early. They end up clawing back late. Jason Dominguez hits a 2-run home run in the 7th. Jazz Chisholm hits a 2-run home run in the 8th. But it was just a little too late for the Yankees in this one. And, it's just unfortunate. It's just one of those games where, like, the offense wasn't particularly bad. They got on base a bit. They got some contributions throughout their lineup. Another couple hits from Oswaldo Cabrera. Multi-hit game again for Paul Goldschmidt. But it just, you dig yourself a 6-0 hole that quickly. It's really tough to climb out of it, really anywhere, but particularly on the road as well. And it just wasn't meant to be tonight. Ben Rice, was good to see him at least get a pinch hit opportunity. Did not start this game because of the elbow injury from the hit by pitch. So it was 2 games in a row where he didn't start, but it looks like he's going to be back in the lineup on Tuesday evening as usual. Nice to see a moonshot from Jason Dominguez. He's only 1 for 4, struck out the other 3 times of his at-bats, but he did hit that 2-run home run. Again, with that tax bullpen, the Yankees relied pretty heavily on Yuendrys Gomez. 3 innings from him, allowed 1 run. Again, bought them the time that they needed in a game that got away, and Yarbrough ends up pitching the final inning for the Yankees. But, just not really a lot to say here. There's just not a lot to take away aside from, we could talk about Clarke Schmidt a little bit. But otherwise, the reality is you find yourself down that much, that quickly. You're just not going to come back from that game. It's the Schmidt stuff's going to be interesting because you start to look at it, and I took a deep dive into the numbers here. The Guardians had 7 hits in this game that came off the bat at 97 miles an hour plus. 6 at 100 or 99 plus. And then obviously it's one of those things where they were getting to, they were just getting to him. And as you kind of looked at what Clarke Schmidt brought to the table in this game, he still doesn't quite look like himself yet. He just doesn't. Obviously, it's only a second start back, and you see some flashes of the Clarke Schmidt we saw from last year, but we didn't really get this level of him from these first 2 starts. At least consistency, and like I said, he got hit pretty hard here. It's you don't want to make any gross declarations here. 2 starts after he gets a late start to the season, but I'm trying to take a look here, at some of his pitches, and it's one of those ones where it just didn't have a lot of it in these games, and I just don't know how you really take much away, other than you just gotta hope Clarke Schmidt comes back, and it's why you feel like, man, I'm stalling. I'm not really stalling. It's just, look, obviously there are scenarios where you would love, oh man, you overcome a 6-0 deficit, you hit all these home runs late, you have a big inning, you come on, walk it off, and the Yankees had a shot. They had the tying run at the plate in the ninth. So they didn't quit. They did fight back, and they got themselves at least an opportunity late in the game, even if it was extremely unlikely that they were going to do anything with it, but you can't really blame anything. You get down 6-0. You're going to lose that game 99 out of 100 times, and the bullpen was fine. You had your bullpen allowed 4 base runners and 1 earned run in 4 innings. Again, really nothing to write home about. This is really just a really bad start for Clarke Schmidt, and he got taken advantage of by Cleveland. They jumped on him early and often, and they hit the ball hard, even some of the non-home runs. I think actually Manzardo's home run was, of that list I read out to, was the lowest in terms of exit velocity. Jose Ramirez got to him twice. His single, I think, was the highest exit velocity in the game. Obviously, he had the home run as well. But yeah, I mean, there's really just not a lot to take away here, other than you hope Clarke Schmidt kind of gets things going. It's only 2 starts. And obviously, he looked a lot better in that first start than he did here. Got some swings and misses in this game, which you liked. But when they made contact, they made really hard contact. And I think that was an issue you saw against Kansas City, where it felt like when he did get in trouble, it's because he was leaving his pitches well over the plate. And Clarke Schmidt relies entirely on breaking pitches in one way or the other. He does not have a traditional 4-seam, 2-seam fastball. He is all breaking, cutter, sinker, slider, like that sort of thing. Like, he is all about movement and all about putting those pitches in the right positions in order to generate outs. And he can generate strikeouts with his pitches, plenty. But if you leave them over the plate, you can do damage. And we saw Kansas City do that a couple times in his first start. We absolutely saw Cleveland do that here. That's really all you can say about this situation, is he's got to work through his placement. And look, the reality is, and I know he had some rehab starts, and I get that, but MLB players have told me back when I used to be in locker rooms, I guess I should say in the clubhouse. By the way, it's interesting that each sport kind of has their own thing. Like in baseball, it's the clubhouse. In football, it's the locker room. In hockey, it's the dressing room. It's really interesting how the terminology will change a little bit by each sport, but that's not important. When I was in clubhouses and I would talk to pitchers, they would, and even hitters, but pitchers in particular, they would always remark about how missing spring training was a bigger deal than many people would give it credit for. That it's not just about the pitching reps on the mound. It's about everything you're doing throughout that month, all the things you get an opportunity to try. Fernando Cruz talked a lot about how much he used this spring training to just try some things. Just go out there, mix some things up, try some different things, and see how it operates. And obviously it led to some poor statistical spring training, but it led to him being pretty darn good in the regular season. So not only does Clarke Schmidt have to rehab from injury, not only does he get to miss valuable on-field reps, but he also gets to miss the opportunity to work on some things and to try out some new things. And he also gets to misses out on the entire month of just kind of getting into a rhythm. And pitching is very much rhythm-based. I think you saw it a little bit when we were kind of deciding, when the decision was being made about who was going to start for the Yankees on opening day once Garrett Cole went down, and why they didn't go with Fried in the first game. They didn't go with Marcus Stroman, and how they just didn't want to break up routines. Pitchers are very much creatures of habit, and that routine starts in February for these guys. And so to be rehabbing an injury and to kind of come into the season, even with rehab starts in the minors do not replace an entire spring training. You could see guys like this get off to slow starts. I'm hoping that's the case, because it's not like Schmidt doesn't have anything. If he was out there just throwing meatballs all game, I would be panicked. He is showing flashes of being as dominant as he was in his multiple, I guess I don't even say 2 handfuls of starts, 3 handfuls of starts last year. he has those flashes in both of these games, against Kansas City and here against Cleveland. So I'm not panicking because of that. If we didn't see any of these flashes, I would have been really concerned, but we're seeing them. The question is going to be is how many starts is it going to take for Clarke Schmidt to kind of get back to where he needs to be? And hopefully it's not too many more, because the Yankees don't have a good enough rotation behind Max Fried to get over it. I think there's probably a really good chance here that he's going to start. I would assume he will start that final game of the Blue Jays series, which will be a afternoon game on Sunday. So I think that's when I expect we'll see him next. Again, he'll be at home for this one as well. So we will see how he performs in that outing. But I'm staying calm. I'm staying calm here. And because of the circumstances leading up to Clarke Schmidt's start to the season. But I will say, if I'm sitting here 2, 3, 4 starts down the road for Clarke Schmidt, now we're into May, and if we're still seeing these same issues, then I will start to be very concerned, particularly because of the state of the rotation. But for right now, I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to relax, and I suggest that you as well take a deep breath and say, all right, what is what it is. Let's chalk it up to a late start. Let's be excited about the flashes that we have seen, and let's hope that we are in 5, 10, 15, 20 days from now talking about Clarke Schmidt being another key piece of the rotation, and maybe being even the second best pitcher in that rotation. But in the meantime, we'll be moving on to Tuesday, and a Tuesday evening game, 6:10 p.m. start time. It'll be Will Warren coming off of, well, quite frankly, his worst start of the season. He's another guy that's been very up and down, but he did not get out of the second inning in his last start against Tampa, and it was a massive bullpen game. They ended up winning that game, but it's been a little bit up and down. He looked solid, but a little erratic against Arizona to open the season. He was not good against Pittsburgh. Then he had a very, very good start, his best start of his young career so far, against San Francisco, and then was completely out of whack against Tampa Bay back on the 17th. So I'd be lying if I told you I know what Will Warren is going to show up in this game, but we shall see. He will go up against Tanner Bybee, who's also had a little bit of a rough start to his season so far. Outside of his first start of the season against Kansas City, which was spectacular, he's been really up and down. I just took a look at this, and so against Kansas City, he goes 5 2/3, 2 hits, 2 walks, no runs. Then against LA, he allows 8 hits, 1 walk, and 4 home runs, 7 earned runs in 4 innings against LA. The Angels, I should say. And then he has 4 2/3 shutout innings against Kansas City, but we walked a bunch of guys. And then got blown up by Baltimore, where he also walked a ton of guys. 4 walks, gave up 3 home runs. So this is an interesting one, because if you want to look at this, he's given up in his last 3 starts, easy for me to say. He's pitched, and I'm going to do the quick math here. There's decimals, so it's making it a little bit difficult. But it looks like 14 1/3 innings in his last 3 starts. Has given up 9 walks in that period of time and 7 home runs. So the Yankees are a team that walks. The Yankees are a team that hits home runs. Seems like a matchup you could take advantage of, and let's see if they do. And we'll talk all about it here on the Bombers Beat podcast tomorrow.